Hi Simon, thanks for joining me this afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little bit. Oh, it's our last day, but there we go. Just say thank you so much for all your help with this project. You've been an absolute star. Um,
Enjoy looking at that footage.
yes, plenty to look back on there, and a real kind of ride through the various stages of in and out of lockdowns. So it'd be quite interesting historic record, I think, in that regard.
Mm.
So, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your involvement with the creative arts?
Yeah, my name is Simon Shaw. I've been a live music promoter for 9 or 10 years now, working at grassroots level up to sort of like upper emerging, I think I would call it, if people understand those terms. And I've also done any kind of like dog's body work in the music industry, um, all sorts of photography and video now more than ever as well. So digital creative.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of the people that we've been talking to are kind of cross platform. So, how did you get into it in the first place?
I've been a musician since I was like 17 or 18. I bought a bass with what was called EMA money. That was like free money if your parents were poor, that you got for attending school. It was that good. I didn't need the money in that sense. I was already going to school. I was a good boy. But the money was nice. So I got like an attendance bonus that I used the money on. And I've been a bass player since. The only instrument I've learned, the only instrument I've ever loved. I can't play anything else. And I've tried. Yeah, doing that. When I was a lot older, I was at uni and stuff, and I was literally just going to an open mic with a friend, and we went past a small venue that was quite empty when we went in. We just went in for a pint on the way because we used to use open mics as like a play for drinks, and that's essentially like enough for me. I don't really need any more enticement. So I would go in, and we were just talking to the owner then. The owner was like, "Oh, we want to do open mics." So he asked us to sing and play in front of him and stuff. And in the end, he was like, "Well, like if you've got a night that you're not at your open mics, would you like to just come here and bring your open mic crowd in that, and I'll feed you punch that we'd make on the bar and stuff." And I was like, so we had a glass of punch there and then. We decided right there and then, let's do an open mic thing. And then eventually, we just putting stuff on for our mates to play gigs. So I started putting on more of a rock night on a Monday night, that tied in with like a local nightclub, and then started running acoustic nights on a Thursday. I was always doing the sound as well, so I learned how to facilitate a desk. I was already doing social media essentially for the bands I was in, so it all tied into like this like sort of small portfolio thing that eventually just grew and grew, and now essentially I work full time as a promoter, um, barring current climate. And yeah, different guys. It's kind of weird, but it's all cogs, isn't it? So well, if you need to be one of those cogs, I'll be that cog probably.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bit sad to see the announcement the other day. Um, so tell us about some of the things that up to lockdown, some of the events that you were curating.
Yeah, so I'm part of the Stockton Calling team. That's probably the biggest job every year. More pertain to working with Q Stockton, which used to be Q Bar. Most people know it as. So I work there with the owner Jimmy Beck, on creating and basically promoting live music. So that's like our biggest job. We have Gathering Sounds Festival as well, which is of a similar ilk to Stockton Calling. Just a little bit more sort of like of a hour thing essentially, so we can just do more because there's a lot of music out there, and if we can put more on, that's essentially the goal, isn't it? I don't want to just do like three bands a week, kind of thing. Like there's a lot more music than that coming out, even just locally. So but yeah, I've worked with Tristarella Festival, like essentially just looking after stages, or just carrying kit about and stuff, just being available. I've looked after acoustic stage for them. I've also worked at the O2 Academy in Newcastle, and we sometimes promote and put bands on up there. And at the same time, I'll like sort of take my little video camera that I've got, and I'll make video content from the nights or take some photos, usually outside of our venue and stuff. So generally just I'm always pertaining to what can, because I'm there and I have some unique situations, like I really love the Cribs. They're from Wakefield down road and that, so I got to rep them when they played Empire. So I got this like unique thing of being able to take photos with a camera in a AAA situation. And like, you know, I can walk onto the stage and do something and no one's going to tell me to get off. So it's like pretty, you know, I was starting to take photos on phones, but eventually I was like, man, I want to like get some of these shots, some of these moments I want to like be like worthy of like looking back on. So I guess that's a quite an overview. I like the smaller stuff as well, like particularly like seeing mates bands, local bands, headlining some of their like sort of like quotations like best gig of their lives, you know, kind of things when they come off stage and they say that to you. Like I don't know if it is or not, but it's a pretty good feeling to see people like, you know, especially artists and that like you work with constantly growing and, you know, eventually getting to a point where they're like, you know, this is a good vibe, you know.
Yeah, it's there's something about sort of being a promoter, isn't there? It's like if you're in a band or whatever your art form is, it's kind of like that's like the part of your life and you're kind of doing different things and but like when you're putting on a night, it's like it's all just down to that night, and if the people come and if the people have a good time and if the bands are looked after, it's just like kind of quite squeaky bum, isn't it, when you're
yeah,
much time and energy into just curating one night and then it's either going to work or it's not.
I take it all very personally. Like it's very, very hard. It's because I feel like you're in charge of looking after so many different things, but like art itself is very personal and everyone wants different things out of art, and you're kind of trying to balance that like very, very tactfully, because you don't want to ruin somebody's night, but you know, and you don't want to put on a bad night. You don't want to, you know, and I've put on bad nights, you know, and at the end of it, you're like, I didn't really get that right, guys. You know, I'm like, and it's not a great feeling. And then you just gotta like be like, oh, I'm glad I got something else booked in. Hopefully that won't be a stinker.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. It's like I've had nights where I thought, you know, that didn't go so well, and sometimes they're like the nights that people have enjoyed most. So maybe it's you know, when you're so involved in it, you don't see it as clearly as you might. And I guess for me, it's like the night the nights that I really enjoy are ones where I have a bit of a drink and get a bit rowdy myself, and maybe they're not the best nights because I'm not presenting, hosting as well as I think I am.
Oh, you're just into it, aren't you? I think like yeah, if you can do that, like do that. I can't drink and work, but yeah, if other people can. I used to drink and work, but like I can't remember those nights.
Yeah, I mean, really, when I was doing the Red Room, I was driving, so it was enforced sobriety, and that was probably a very good thing. But on a couple of occasions, somebody offered to drive, and it was utter carnage. I think we did start setting light to things in the venue and that. And I had asked permission. I didn't realise he wanted us to go outside though. Um, so obviously, lockdowns had, you know, a massive impact on your work. Stockton Calling's just been postponed again. How's it been? How's it been in your head? I know you've been getting out and about, and I've been really enjoyed sort of traveling vicariously through your nature photography, your landscape photography. The music industry's just been absolutely so hard hit. How have you found it, and have you worked at all? And are you even making any plans now, or are you just kind of taking it week by week?
I think every promoter's kind of getting to that, like for the conversations about it as well, like that tether of like, whoa, this is a like, you know, you started off this kind of like moving stuff around thing, and you feel like everyone's appreciative of it and stuff, and no one's really going to be complaining about having dates moved and stuff. But you get to a certain point where you're like, this is the 5th iteration of this gig. It's probably going to be 18 months until this gig that I originally envisioned will actually happen. Or, you know, like if it's myself and Jimmy at Cuba, it's like things we've like had ideas about and we've booked in. And I like falter on that, like, is this the right thing to do? Like to keep the honesty of favouring that gig. But then there's also all these new bands coming through and that. So it's a bit of a head scratcher and a bit of like a sort of a dilemma. I'm in good spirits. I think promoters are the best people in the world. Maybe I'm not talking about myself in that sense, but my friends who promote and the people I know in the area that promote, they're the best people who, you know, you could just say to them, live music's back tomorrow, and they would create something and put something out, like, you know, it'd be that quick. But seeing these people sit around and do nothing all year is, you know, that's heartbreaking for me, because it's like trying to keep everyone involved. Like, I think not just about promoters, but tech, lighting, people that, you know, like just rep gigs and stuff. It's like, I don't know if these people are going to be here still, and if they're not, how, like, it's all right to get there's enough bands still making music and stuff, like that's evident by the releases that come out every week, but like, who's running these gigs, like, when they come back? Like, is there going to be people there? Is there going to be a bit of a, you know, because we all want to put gigs on, like, you know, when we can, it's good, there's going to be a load, like, and DIY is going to be huge, which I think is going to be class. I just can't envision, like, the staff like maybe bands will all have to figure it out for themselves, and all have to do each other's sound and stuff. I don't know.
Well, I hope they'll come back, but yeah, as you say, it's been absolutely desperate. A lot of the people behind the scenes are the people that have fallen into this abyss of having no support at all whatsoever. You know, I found their protests to be really, really moving, when they kind of just rolled the PAs into that great big square, and there was just so many there, and you kind of started to get some kind of appreciation of how many people are employed in the creative industries in this country that people don't even think about.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just what people think as well. Like, any kind of public performance, it will have tech. Like, you know, like, they're the same staff that run your gigs and stuff. It's they're all intertwined in that industry, essentially, like corporate work, business work, grassroots work and stuff. So it's a dangerous kind of like situation. Like myself, I'm self-employed, so I didn't get any grants, didn't get any funding. Like, I was lucky that I picked up bits of work, but none of it's promoting gigs, which might help promote gigs in the future. Maybe I don't want to promote gigs in the future. Like, maybe I feel like I'm too old, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, that's been mine. So it is you just don't know, I guess. I'm hopeful, but at the same time, like, it's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, we're all in that situation where we're just trusting to hope and playing it by ear. I think as people involved in the creative industries, we've already had some idea that the world's an uncertain and ever-changing place. So I think maybe we're a little bit more prepared to deal with it than most people, which is a good job, because we've had less support than most other people.